What are the biggest questions facing your team during spring ball?
You're talking ball with the SEC squad. From Alabama to Tennessee, from Georgia to Oklahoma, from Auburn to Texas, it's the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network bringing you scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive preview of the upcoming SEC weekend. It's the SEC squad, and we have a seat for you. Hurt feelings and thin skin are prohibited. Squad up, you're part of the SEC squad.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the SEC squad. Sit back, grab your favorite beverage, and join us as we get you ready talking another week of all things SEC. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Let's welcome in our squad panel this week. We've got Chris Marler from Locked On Gamecocks. We got Corey Burton, Locked On Vandy. Eric Kane, Locked On Vols. Stephen Willis, Locked On Ole Miss. I'm Chris Gordy, host of Locked On SEC. And gents, just about everybody is into spring practice now. Mizzou, kind of the weirdos. They got everything started early, and they've already finished spring ball. They get it out of the way before spring break. But we did have the last trailers. We got A&M underway. We got Ole Miss underway on Monday. We got LSU underway on Tuesday.
Ole Miss is underway on Friday.
Whenever. Everybody's underway this week. So, nonetheless.
Monday, Friday.
Listen, Ole Miss got its old quarterback coming back, all right? So they don't need to practice.
Yeah, they're just going to – they're not even going to have a spring ball. But let's ask the question, guys. What is the biggest question facing your team right now during spring ball? Corey, let's start with you.
Okay. Well, is there actually a quarterback competition? I don't think there actually is, but they're towing the company line. But the wide receiver room and offensive line rooms, in all seriousness, are probably the biggest question marks because they have a lot of talent, but – not a ton of experience, and they got to try to figure out what those two positions look like.
Yeah, of course, Jared Curtis. I mean, it's all the high expectations on him, and can he come in and immediately be a freshman starting quarterback? But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of other different spots that Vandy's got to make sure he's ready to go for SEC play.
Yeah. I describe him as like if Diego Pavia was like little Mario. Jared Curtis is Mario after he had the mushroom.
And Marlon got the fire flower thing where he spit fireballs, because that dude can. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. Marler, a little. By the way, Mario lost his accent. I don't know where that happened. Marler, South Carolina offensive line has been an issue. Some of the new additions you guys have brought in, but what's their biggest question right now?
Well, you were going to ask me the question, and I was going to say it, and then you had to give the answer during the question. So super professional of you, Gordy. I appreciate that. Offensive line, biggest question mark for sure. No, I think health and the offensive line for sure. Today that we're recording this on, I don't remember what day it is, but even today, Shane Beamer mentioned they're halfway through the 15 practices, and Dylan Stewart is going to be probably unlimited action for the rest of spring ball, and he's not 100%. They revealed that he also wasn't 100% last year. But I think between guys like him and then obviously Jakarius Peak being out until the fall, Josiah Thompson being out and having to shuffle all these guys in the offensive line, that I think is going to be the biggest questions. Can they stay healthy enough to be ready for the fall and then also figure out the offensive line? The other thing, too, is just some of the incoming younger talent, not even from the portal, that they brought in at skill positions like the wide receiver position. How much further along are they this year than they were a year ago?
Yeah, I was going to say the interesting part with Dylan Stewart. I mean, he was so good as a freshman. It's happened so much with guys. They blow us away as a freshman, and so we raise the expectation. We go, clearly they're going to outdo that again. And he was good last year. He just wasn't the huge dominant force. Like you mentioned, they kind of came out and said, okay, maybe he wasn't 100%. And he didn't have the Kyle Kennard opposite him as well. That was a big sack artist.
Not having the SEC Defensive Player of the Year on the other side, I think, was a pretty big issue. But I think also you look at what he could project to be this year and talent-wise, now he can be that Kyle Kennard, and who's going to be on the opposite side of him? Is it Julian Walker, the freshman, or is it the kid they got from Tennessee, Caleb Herring? We'll see.
Now, there's some questions for South Carolina, but if you take the defensive performance that they had a year ago, just that, we're not asking for anything crazy.
Right.
Add to Kendall Briles and Lenore Sellers together, if that clicks, South Carolina's a problem for everybody in the SEC next year.
Talking about Steven.
There's a lot of potential there, Chris. That was one of my favorite moves that South Carolina made, was hiring Kendall Briles, because I mean, it is perfect. It's a perfect match there with him and Lenore Sellers, with what he wants to do and how he wants to attack with Lenore Sellers' skill set. I think it's, thankful that Vandy doesn't have to play South Carolina this year. Maybe wait till Lenore Sellers leaves and then get you back on the schedule. That'd be good.
Yeah, for sure.
And if you heard what Shane Beamer said this week, he said the offense is totally different. He said everything's different.
Thank God.
It's a whole new system, whole new offense. Everybody's having to learn, and so yeah, I mean, I think we're super optimistic about what we'll see in Columbia this year. Eric Kane, I think I know where you're going to go, but biggest question for the Tennessee Vols.
Yeah, Marler, we're recording this on Wednesday night, opening day in the Bay, and the Yankees put up 5 over the Giants in the second. So biggest worry here in Knoxville is Tony Vitello going to Fayetteville here pretty soon. But no, it's quarterback, no doubt. Again, Steven got his veteran quarterback back, and Tennessee didn't. So is Tennessee going to start a true freshman like Vanderbilt and Jerry Curtis, but with Faison Brandon? Or is Tennessee going to go the redshirt freshman route with George McIntyre? Ryan Staub is here. He started a game or two over the last couple of years at Colorado. He's not really in this competition. It's George or Faison. So far, I mean, we just get to see barely anything. I mean, they look great in shorts and helmets, and when they put the full pads on, we get to see them throw routes on air, and I mean, they look like All-Americans there. I mean, everybody's saying the right things right now, but like we just don't know, and we're not gonna know until they scrimmage. I guess would be today they scrimmage, and we'll get to hear some how they performed after that and everything. But quarterback. I mean, the offense overall for Tennessee returned so much. You feel really good about the weapons and the offensive line surrounding said quarterback, but quarterback's the most important position in all of sports, so you can't be really bad there. So we'll see what happens.
I think I'm a little worried too. I mean, just staying healthy, right? I mean, we saw David Hobbs, the D lineman. He's going to miss the rest of the spring with an injury, and I think I'm just jaded with Tennessee on the Jermod McCoy. All the DB injuries they had last year. It's like, man, I just want to see him get out of spring healthy.
Like Jermod got hurt training at his home in Texas in January, like 1st of January, like just the crappiest thing. And yeah, Ricky Gibson got hurt there in the opener, and Tennessee was playing. Tennessee went out and got Colton Hood as just an insurance policy, and turns out he's going to be a first rounder. I mean, that turned out pretty well. And Ty Redmond, who was forced into action last year at corner as a true freshman, that got picked on a lot earlier in the year. I think he's going to be one of the best corners in the SEC this year, one of the top returning corners in the SEC. But yeah, like I've got. I mean, everybody's going to talk about the quarterbacks, no doubt. I mean, I've got some big time questions about like the entire defense. Don't get me wrong, right? But the defensive line, you lost so much from a group that underperformed last year. And talk about David Hobbs. I mean, Tennessee's having to count on him to play a ton of snaps, and he is never healthy. Nathan Robinson is never healthy, and so yeah, again, like spring's great and all. Spring is not what it used to be. We don't get to see anything. We don't know what's really happening, but we'll see what Josh Heupel says and barely says in front of the microphone tomorrow.
Eric, just to get a heads up about it, on the quarterback position, do either one of them, how far can they throw an orange, and is either one a rocket ship builder?
Neither one is a rocket ship builder, and that's really unfortunate because the last one was really, really good. Yeah, who cares about throwing the orange, because the quarterback that did that was not very good. But this is why, again, like I just don't worry about Josh Heupel and quarterbacks. I'm sorry. Like you got Aguilar off the waiver wire, and he led the SEC in passing last year. Joe Milton accounted for over 3,000 yards through the air. Like, and
he threw an orange 90 yards.
Yeah, it's just Joe Milton is the prototypical, has all the tools but just can't play, and Josh Heupel got him to play. Like I understand there's serious questions, and I've got more than anybody. I'm still not really worried about it. Maybe that's on me, though. I don't know.
But traditionally speaking, too, in a Heupel offense, just the way schematically it breaks down and the X to O's and how the splits he has the offense, the biggest thing is the easier it is to spell the last name or pronounce it of his quarterback, the more success they have tended to have. So, and they usually stay longer, too. So I'm excited for George McIntyre, my favorite Beatle, and Faison Brandon. So it should be great.
Yeah. He could use another hooker there. By the way, Aguilar
led Choppy's going to bleep that out there, Corey. Sorry.
He led the SEC in 99-yard pick sixes too. So that's
he did. Yeah. How about we just not put the football through the air on the goal line playing Alabama?
Probably a good idea.
That's fair.
Steven, Ole Miss, whenever the hell they get started with camp, what's their biggest question?
Well, we assume the question. No, everybody's going to talk about the offensive tackle position, and we're going to go over that ad nauseum for the next couple of weeks. But the one thing that I'm interested in, especially in the routes versus air portion of spring practice, is Jonte Cook. He has to find consistency. He was one of the most electric players I've ever seen coming out of high school at Under Armour. It was amazing. He went to Texas and kind of just fell flat. Got kicked out of Washington, went to Syracuse, and there was the electricity again. Is he going to bring that to Oxford, Mississippi? Because one of the most consistent players on the football team was Caden Lee. He's no longer there. You have to replace that. It can't just be Deuce Alexander and the other players that are going to go on. Jonte Cook has a big role to play on this football team.
I like that.
I would say it's the wide receiver room as a whole. I mean, we know Deuce Alexander was good, but Darryl Gill, Horatio Fields. I mean, it's just a lot of new guys, and we've become accustomed to this for Ole Miss because it feels like it's a whole new wide receiver room every year. But
every single year.
Yeah, but it's just all about who's going to emerge and who's going to be that guy,
The one weird question in this receiver room that Ole Miss over the last 15 years, there's always been that big wide receiver. They've always had that. This year, they're going to be relying on a freshman. Now, he was a 5-star freshman, but he's going to be a redshirt freshman on the outside, potentially Caleb Cunningham starting at the X. Is he's that big player? Is he the Trey Harris? That is something I'm interested in. But like I said, Jonte Cook and Caleb Cunningham and them on the side of the field, if they are just really good, this offense with Keywan Lacey and Trinidad Chambliss is going to be very hard to stop.
Well, we know Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss will put him in great positions. So, joking.
Or the person that ran the offense from 21 to 23.
John David Baker.
Talking about Matt Luke, former head coach, Ole Miss football.
Rich Rod.
When we return, fellas, we are going to hit on some of the teams we didn't talk about. So be thinking of one of the other teams in the SEC. What you think the biggest question is for some of those other ones. We'll discuss that when the squad returns, coming up next. Hey, first, guys, workplace, chaos, deadline stacking up, inbox overflowing in the one position you need to fill, still sitting open when the pressure's on, and you need to make the right hire. This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. They're going to help you find the people who actually fit what you're looking for. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute we've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching, more time interviewing candidates who check all the boxes with Indeed-sponsored jobs. When you need the right person, cut through the chaos. It's a job for Indeed-sponsored jobs. The listeners of our show, they will get $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. If you need to hire, that's a job for Indeed-sponsored jobs. And hey, what if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. And it's not just you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood, now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. SEC squad rolling along here. And gents, first want to remind our folks, thank you for making Locked On SEC and all of our shows your first listen of the day. Thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. And a reminder, you can get the first month of the Everydayer Club. When you use our code MARCH, you will unlock ad-free episodes and entry into our private listener group chat where Chris Marlowe will send you weird emojis. Click on the link in our show notes, LockedOnPodcast.com/Everydayer. All right, gentlemen, let's hit on some of the other teams. We hit on all of the teams that you guys cover. Marler's in a unique spot. He was actually at LSU practice the other day. So, Marler, give us a thought on what you think the biggest question is for LSU going into the season.
Is this team 3 or 2 for you?
What's that?
Well, where is LSU on the pecking order? I'm just curious.
Shut up, Kane. Lane Kiffin. Such a dick. My biggest question for LSU is how much tanner can Lane Kiffin get before the season starts? Because that man is basted. Looks fantastic. I think the biggest question for me is how quickly can he get them to gel? I saw the first 5 periods of that practice. I think Sam Leavitt is obviously going to be your quarterback. I think the big thing for me is who's going to be the backup, because we've seen this time and time again. And I'm looking through here. I think outside of Corey, it feels like every quarterback maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's only South Carolina that's had to have a backup quarterback play significant time over the past 2 years. But for the most part, you see around the SEC, very good point, Steven. You see these backups that have to step in at some point during the season. Arch 2 years ago with Quinn, and obviously the stuff with Alabama over the past couple of years. There's every single place has had some issues with the health through the 12-game season. I think it's only going to get worse with a 9-game conference season. Sam Leavitt's already coming off an injury. Who's going to be the backup quarterback that's going to be putting that offense in good hands? And is it going to be the kid from Elon, who I think has the best arm out of anybody on the team, or is it going to be Hussein Longstreet, who I accidentally typoed human Longstreet on my first post from spring practice? So I think that is, all jokes aside, the biggest question for them is they're going to get a lot more valuable reps in this spring because of the fact that Leavitt's going to be out and so limited in what they're doing. But who is going to be number 2 on that depth chart? And is he going to be good enough to do something similar like we saw last year at Ole Miss?
I was going to say, Leavitt, and you said it right there. I mean, my understanding was Leavitt wasn't going to do anything in spring. And so what an opportunity there to see what you got behind him, right? Because, again, it could be you're one play away. I mean, here at Tennessee, man, knock on wood, Tennessee's not had – I mean, Nico was out for a half one time. I mean, Nico was questionable going into the Georgia game, but he missed 2 quarters. I mean, Tennessee's quarterbacks – Hendon got hurt at the end of 22. With 1 game left. But Tennessee's quarterbacks haven't missed a whole lot of time. But, man, you're just 1 play away. And it's all 3 quarterbacks are new, correct? New to LSU. It's a new system, obviously. There's a lot going on. So Sam Leavitt's going to be the guy regardless. Sam Leavitt can step into any offense and probably thrive. So just kind of figuring out what you got behind him.
And remember, as somebody that's been through the Lane Kiffin experience before,
me too.
Jackson Dart got knocked out of the Georgia game in 2024. Obviously, Trinidad Chambliss took over last year. Matt Corral missed a Sugar Bowl. The backup quarterback usually plays a game in the Lane Kiffin system.
I think that the other big thing too, I think, is that offensive line. Every team that I cover professionally apparently is just destined to have the worst offensive line imaginable. And South Carolina has been bad. Obviously, LSU was really bad last year. How are they going to be able to protect up front? And I think the bigger thing for me is they brought in the staff with a lot of really high quality staff members, play callers, like recruiters, developers, all that kind of stuff. Eric Wolford, in my opinion, the track record that he has had is the worst of the bunch. And maybe I'm completely wrong. And maybe a guy like Jordan Seaton will make him look a lot better. But remember, just a couple years ago when he was in Alabama, that was an offense that gave up 49 sacks in one season, which was more than I think the 4 teams, the 4 top-ranked teams in the country, Washington, Oregon, Georgia, and Michigan at the time, they gave up less than that combined. Georgia had given up, I think, 16 or 13 less sacks combined in the 3 years combined than the Alabama did that one season. I don't think he is going to be some incredible developer of talent on the offensive line, so that could still be a big issue for him, especially with an injured quarterback.
And one thing that's interesting for LSU, sorry about that, Chris, but every stop that Lane Kiffin has made before this one, there has been somebody on that Art Briles tree. Now, there's things that you can say about Art Briles, but there's been somebody there to put in the system. This is the first time where he is putting in the system himself. I don't know what that means, but it might mean something.
I think it's a good point, too.
Let's jump around because we got 9 other teams I do want to touch on. Corey, I'll give you Georgia. What do you think is the biggest question for Georgia this spring?
I think just kind of maintaining that consistency and just kind of seeing how some of the new guys and new faces fit within Mike Bobo's scheme. I think when you look at the development of Gunnar Stockton, how much more electric is he going to be in year 2 as a starter, or year 2 and some change as a starter? And what is this team going to actually look like? Can they get over the hump in the playoff? First of all, they get in the playoff and they're one and done.
Can they find a pass rush?
I mean, they return a lot of experience on defense. So that's something that I think they're excited about. But I think there's some questions with Glenn Schumann and just kind of how they organize this defense. And I don't know if last year some of their problems were inexperience and some of the gaps that they had in their defensive coverage, especially the pass rush, was just inexperience or not the right calls. But they've got some things to figure out from a pass rush perspective if they're going to three-peat as SEC champs.
That's the biggest one for me is pass rush. Georgia, we were not used to seeing them have a lack of a pass rush. They've been a football factory for elite D linemen, and it's like, where's Jordan Davis? Where's Javon Walker? I mean, they were missing
those guys, I just don't know where it was going to come from, and I don't think that they had guys that were big time playmakers, or at least had that mentality last season. Maybe they developed that a little bit, and maybe they'll develop that a little bit in the spring, but they've got to have somebody who you're just deathly afraid of coming after the passer.
Steven, you want me to give you the other side of the Egg Bowl? You want to do Mississippi State?
I can take it. They have been dreadfully bad over the last 2 years. And you have a quarterback that struggles throwing the football, but he is absolutely electric running the football. So Jeff Lebby, what he has this year is basically what Oklahoma and Nebraska had in the 70s and 80s. If they get behind, it's done. But if Mississippi State gets up on you to where he can run that quarterback, they're going to be a real problem. But if you jump on them, they're not going to be able to catch up.
Kamario Taylor he's an interesting quarterback. I like him talent-wise. It's just them trying to figure out just kind of how he operates and what he does well and try to take advantage of that and, try to protect him from what he doesn't do well as he tries to develop that part of his game. That's just going to be that they got to figure that out this spring.
The problem Mississippi had is
Go ahead, Steven. My bad.
The problem is they put out a video of like the three best passes that he made during a practice, and one of them was an arrow screen, and that's a problem.
That is a problem.
Look, they were better last year, Mississippi State. It just you lost a lot of those. What Brendan Thompson was awesome. He's gone. He's off to the NFL. So there's a lot of pieces they have to replace from that team that was improved. Eric, before we grab a break, you want to pick one of your old East teams? I'll give you a choice of Florida, Kentucky, Mizzou.
I guess I can talk about the Gators.
No, Kentucky. Go.
I mean,
new coach, Will Stein's money.
New coaching staff, new quarterback. I mean, Kentucky always gets a nice quarterback from the transfer portal.
And then
Kentucky used to run the football as well as anybody in the SEC. Haven't done that in a couple of years. I don't know anything about Kentucky.
They got C.J. Baxter, the former Texas running back.
Okay,
he's there.
Yeah, solid. I mean,
Stein's how Will Stein can handle being a head coach for the first.
Yeah, I mean that's the biggest question. That's the biggest question for a lot of these guys. I mean, I thought for some reason I thought you were going to give me Arkansas, and I know that's not an East team, but I think Arkansas. I'm so intrigued about them just because I don't think that they had it. They hired. I don't know why they hired him. He was not good at Memphis. He just wasn't. And when Arkansas fans didn't want that hire to be made, I mean that's an issue. And unlike Mississippi State where they just weren't very good, but man, they were competitive and they won a couple of games. Like Arkansas just didn't give you anything to cheer about. And and again, Kentucky, unless you're playing Ole Miss, you pretty much don't do anything. So I don't know.
Running around stalking an ex-girlfriend. That game you're talking about. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know much about Kentucky this year. I'm going to be honest with you. Florida. I think Florida's going to be okay. Florida's always going to have amazing talent. I think Florida's got a great coaching staff. I believe in Summerall. If they can figure out the quarterback situation down there, which is kind of what Tennessee's trying to figure out, I think Florida can. I mean, that first over-under was like, what, 4.5, 5.5? I think they moved up. I don't know where they are now, but
they're 7.5.
God. Okay. Yeah.
They were at 6.5. They didn't move that much, I don't think.
Okay. So that's more like it. I think Florida, if you can figure out the quarterback, you're not going to be that bad in year one, in my opinion.
And Corey, you like their OC, right?
Yeah, I tend to like him. I've spent a few family reunions with old Buster Faulkner.
Parkview Panther, baby.
Yeah, Parkview grad for old Marler there. It's going to be interesting there with that and him picking a quarterback. He's not, even though Philo transferred to follow him, he's not partial to Aaron Philo. I mean, he's not it's going to be a fair race. But I think Philo's going to end up winning it because I think he's a little bit more consistent and a little bit more accurate with passes.
I've heard Tramel Jones is looking good though, and keep in mind he was a 4-star recruit. This isn't like some slappy that was just sitting there.
No. I think this is going to be like the slimmest of margins. Whoever wins this job, and it's probably going to go back and forth to Philo to Tramel Jones to Philo to Tramel Jones, and how they, how they report it and how you hear about them. So it's going to be, this one's might be down to like week 1.
Yeah, and you better be careful because they could put film up there and see what Buster Faulkner did to Haynes King last year running the football. Just it's like everybody's going to, like South Park, try to lose. And by the way, Eric, you mentioned it. Will Stein's walking into a great situation in Kentucky when Mark Pope just set $20 million on fire. They're probably going to support that program moving forward a little bit.
But will they? Will they though?
The money they put in
now's the best shot you got.
True.
The NIL they put into football this year was still surprising. You look at their the numbers, just and Gordy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure they had 29 guys they brought in. 20 of those guys are from Power 4 teams and or Notre Dame, and then I think 14, so nearly half of it also came from SEC teams. So they put together a strong class. It'll like you said earlier, it depends on like one, the schedule's not easy by any means, and then also it's Will Stein in year 1 as a head coach. So I get in trouble a lot on my own podcast for South Carolina saying this, so I don't mind saying it for someone else and jinxing them maybe. But it feels like it can't get worse. So that has been very wrong on my show several times. But I will also say I don't think it can get worse for Kentucky with what they have with Mark Pope.
And like it's just so, Gordy, I know you got to go to break. I just want to get this parting shot in here. Like how Mark Stoops just fumbled so much these last 5 years. I mean, he was respectable. They had an MO, man. Played great defense, really good in the trenches, ran the football well. And then they started going out and getting quarterbacks through the portal. And you had so many weapons the last couple of years, and then they just all leave you. And like again, you had some signature wins, but then you'd fall back down to earth. Like I'm not saying that they would have contended for a college football playoff spot or anything, but like Kentucky, Mark Stoops just fumbled. Mark Stoops had a lot of talent there to win, not win big, but to win more.
That team he had 2 years ago offensively with Barryon Brown and
my point is that Dane Keene, Barryon Brown, Robinson,
God, like that team was incredible.
Their left tackle though, Eric Lance Hurd.
Yeah, I mean he's okay. He's all right.
4 or 5 star.
Yeah,
he was a 4 or 5 star. Yeah.
Mark Stoops and Dan Mullen combined to ruin my favorite joke ever, and that was the Atlantic's going to beat Florida before Kentucky will, and that just got ruined.
When we return, gents, we'll touch on the last 4 teams we didn't discuss in the SEC. We're locked on squad show after this. It's tax time, but for a lot of us, the only way to doing taxes is a lot. I mean, Chris Marley used to bring like 5 backpacks of just paperwork to his local tax man. And look, trying to book an appointment is not the most convenient. Sit in a waiting room, emailing back and forth, wondering if they even understand your tax situation. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's the relief of walking in and meeting a real person and walking out knowing your taxes are being handled right. Head to turbotax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointments. And, gents, it is that time of year where we got hoops action winding down, but some big games remaining. And, hey, you might live driving distance from one of those cities still hosting some big basketball games. If you want to be there live for something like that, that's bucket list stuff. The hard part is actually getting the tickets. And the Game Time app, they give fans the advantage with constant innovation. It's how you unlock amazing tickets and experiences just for your taps. It's incredibly easy to use. The Game Time guarantee means 100% legitimate tickets delivered on time at the best price. And the best part, fees are included in the price you see. What you see is what you pay. The seat view feature, game changer for me. You can see a panoramic view from your seat before you buy. No stress, no guesswork, just a smooth experience from start to finish. That's exactly what you want during the busiest part of the year. Take the guesswork out of buying college basketball tickets at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use our code LOCKEDON, get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem our code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. All right, fellas, as we dive back into it, just four more teams we didn't touch on. And let's start with Bama, because I think the quarterback spot is the biggest question. Year 3 for Kalen DeBoer. I think he can't mess this one up. Keelan Russell, the guy who was the 5-star freshman from a year ago, or Austin Mack, the guy that was a recruit that they recruited up to Washington when he and Ryan Grubb went there. But to me, guys, that's the biggest question for Alabama, in addition to where's that run game? We weren't used to seeing Alabama not be able to run the football.
I mean, Alabama could not run the football at all last year. I understand there were some injuries, but there was some inconsistent play on the offensive line. You got really good quarterback play from Ty Simpson for most of the year. There were some stretches where it wasn't very good. Again, defensively too, like it just looked different. And I understand Nick Saban's not coaching over there, and I think Kalen DeBoer's a fine coach, but like not being able to run the football, not being able to get out the passer and play some solid defense. I mean, it was a CFP team. I understand that, but this is a massive year, and it all starts with quarterback. You're right. I think two guys that are pretty talented, but you can't pick the wrong one, because if you go mediocre and kind of miss out on the CFP this year, they'll run him out of town.
Mm-hmm. Marler?
I disagree with that. I think that is a perception because Bama fans have done enough stuff, like, I don't know, burning down trees at your rival's campus to willingly and also very validly make them seem like crazy idiots that would run him out of town. The decision makers, I don't think, are as pressed to get him out of there if he doesn't make the playoff. It's very hard to make the playoff. It's also, I think that the way everyone looks at this, it's kind of him being judged against Saban, which is kind of wild to me, because it's like, Saban had 16 losses in however many years, and he's us 8. And it's like, right, but like that's changed for the entire sport of college football. I think the biggest thing for him, and you're going to have to put him, if you're being objective about this, as the decision maker, you have got to figure out a way to make sure that you're looking at this from a 2-year window. If it goes horribly and they get blown out by a lot of teams, or they end up getting thrashed by Auburn on top of a bad season, they go 7-5 with losses to everybody worth a crap, or 6-6, then yes, absolutely on the hot seat. If he goes 9-3 or 8-4 and misses the playoff with a roster that only has 7 seniors on it and a lot of young talent that you would think will come back, because he's the only coach that was able to go through last spring and not lose a single player in that spring window. I think that you have to look at this from a 2-year standpoint. Now, I don't expect them to make the playoff. I think they take a step back. Is he going to get the quarterback situation right? I don't know the answer to that, because the Austin Mack is a very talented quarterback. You guys don't forget, led him to 3 pretty big points in the Rose Bowl. That was awesome.
Yeah.
And he's a guy that came with him from Washington. It's like he obviously believes in him enough to where he was like, what's your name? Julian Sayon? You're good. You can leave. You're good. Go to Ohio State and see how you do there. We'll keep Austin Mack. But Keelan Russell, I keep saying this, he's the highest ranked recruit in program history. Like, there's no world I look at and say they're going to hold that kid off the field for the entire season, because you can't afford to. Otherwise, he's leaving. And then if you start getting off the field optics that start impacting his actual decision to keep or let him go, then you're in trouble.
There's no
Also
denying
need
Sorry, Eric.
I was just going to say, you also need a certain wide receiver to, actually be good again.
Yeah.
Because that hurt him bad last year.
Ryan Coleman Williams.
Yeah, I think adding the name, I think that brings the hands with him. But you can't deny the
rebranding.
talent.
Your company's in bankruptcy. Let's rebrand.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's perfect, Gordy. No, you can't deny the talent of Keelan Russell. I mean, he's somebody that just I think it's going to be hard to keep him off the field. It's going to be difficult for Austin Mack to beat him out, because like the things that he does that Austin Mack can't do as well, I think that's going to be hard to bypass. I mean, and I think you're going to be willing to accept a few mistakes because you only have 7 seniors on the roster.
Yeah. That
you're going to go with the more talent. You're going to go with the higher ceiling. I think, with Vanderbilt, they're looking at something similar. Like Blaze Berlowitz is not as good as Austin Mack, but
2 very parallel programs.
The situation of the two, the talent discrepancy is like, okay, you got this veteran guy that knows the system, and
right.
He came with Jerry Kill and Tim Beck, but you have this undeniable talent sitting there with Jared Curtis. Like, you don't leave that on the bench. That's kind of where I stand with Keelan Russell. You just can't. It's just hard to leave that talent sitting on the bench there.
1-1 in the last 2 meetings. 1-1.
That's true. They're fine. I mean, think about that. That's real. That's a real thing. I think the other thing too is you have to look at it. The Sed Morgan kid, I think, is going to be really, really good. The freshman 5-star they brought in.
Yeah.
I would expect Coleman Williams will go back to a more similar thing and performance that he had in year one. I think he had a lot of off the field, just kind of mental stuff that he was going through last year from what I was told. I think the other thing too is people forget this because Bama fans are idiots, like plain and simple. And I feel very confident saying that because I grew up in a family full of them. They're idiots, but they're not the ones that are paying the buyout, and they're not the ones hiring the next coach. So the idea that Bama fans are going to grow restless with this really doesn't matter as much, I think, to guys like Greg Bird and whoever's making those decisions as it does to people on Twitter. And I think he's going to be fine unless it is a cataclysmic failure. If they run for -3 yards against Georgia again, we're going to have some different conversations.
Or causes him to jump ship. You're 8-4, 9-3. He's like, man, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to go somewhere else.
Maybe
Tim Brando. That's his blank dream.
Chris, there's a senior offensive consultant that's with the Gophers that I think would be perfect.
I'll kill you
for.
Let's turn the page. We got three more teams to jump on. Mizzou, Steven, help me out with them because we know Ahmad Hardy is back, one of the best running backs in the country, but Austin Simmons going there to now be the guy. To me, that's the biggest. Like, what is Austin Simmons at Mizzou?
Yeah, all the talent in the world. He has 1-1 level talent if he can put it all together. And him getting his security blanket, his boy, Caden Lee, to go up there with him. And Ahmad Hardy is a really good back. So you going into a situation to where you have a set RB1, you have a set wide receiver run, you have what you need. If they can block for him, I think he'll put up good numbers because Missouri, unlike at Ole Miss, is going to run a little bit more pro-style stuff. You just couldn't tell that because Bo Pribula, they weren't running it with him. But they do have that in their playbook from time to time. And if I'm not mistaken, their analyst, the former offensive coordinator at Clemson, on that side of the ball as well. So pay attention to that.
Yeah, they've got Chip Lindsey as their offensive coordinator from Mizzou, and then they got Garrett Riley, who is considered a good offensive mind, and Eli Drinkwitz is himself considered a good offensive mind. So I like that combination of a bunch of big names there, and they got Chop Harbin as well, right? Eric coming over from Tennessee. So
yep, edge coach and a sublime recruiter, a very good recruiter.
All right, we got Auburn and A&M. Who wants to take who?
I'll take Auburn.
I can take Auburn. I can top Golish.
Yeah, Eric kind of looks like Golish.
Who, me?
Eric.
Oh yeah, Eric. You go ahead. You go ahead. You've been to Russia before.
Excuse me. This thing on. Alex Golish is he's a feisty little guy. He's really smart, and I mean his players love playing for him. But he's like the bad guy in the room, man. Like when he was at Tennessee, and I'm sure he was like this at when he was a head coach before coming back to the SEC. Man, he was like the hard ass on staff, right? Like Heupel wasn't. Yeah, LRB, like none of the other offensive coaches was the bad cop, and that was Golish, man, and he will get after you. And he came in there, and obviously been a lot of turnover and all that. He brings his quarterback with him. What's that transition like to the SEC? I think it's gonna be okay, right? So Auburn always has so much talent, still has so much talent, but it's what Heupel had when he came to this league is before they put the clamps on tempo, right? Year one, they went warp speed.
Yeah.
And they scored on Georgia on the first possession. I understand, check the final score, but like Tennessee could jump on teams early that first year in 2021, right? And they went from having 3-7 and one of the worst offenses in the country to having a top 10 offense in year one. I don't know if that transition is going to be that quick for Golish because there is some restrictions on going tempo and all that. Plus they've added some iPads and all that, helping out with the young quarterbacks. The defense can have them as well. But it's an offense that is built on the tight end. I don't know their tight end situation, but they got to have two versatility in the tight ends. They're going to run the crap out of it. Again, this is Marlon and I've talked about it before, but everybody just thinks it's the West Coast, throw it all around everything. No, Tennessee runs the football as good as anybody in the SEC, and Auburn's going to try to do that as well. So I don't know personnel wise. I don't know what their defense is and all that. I worry about Golish in year one because. Again, Tennessee really got after it tempo-wise, and they're not going to be able to go as fast in year one like Tennessee did.
Also, the roster, I don't know that he's built the roster the way he wants it completely. So I think that factor also with him being his first year as a head coach in the SEC, I don't think it's going to be a horrible year, but like I think if you get them early, it's even more advantageous because when they figure it out, they'll be good because Golish is good. But
it's all USF guys. When you said I don't know if
they could absolutely challenge for the American.
By the way, their tight end is Jonathan Eccles from USF. So it's like,
it's a one-time Tennessee commit who decommitted, was committed to Tennessee for a year and a half, decommitted and went down there with Golish because Golish is the one that got
the Auburn Bulls, are they redoing
best
the
graphic
logo?
I've ever made? Yes, you had it.
Oh my God,
they had brought in 13 players from USF. Now, let me give you a fun little fact. Guess how many players Kurt Cignetti brought in from JMU when he got to Indiana?
Over 20, right?
13 from JMU alone. So what I will tell you is that's a great number, and that's something you can hang your hat on if you're Auburn and get really excited about. But the biggest difference is that Indiana team didn't have to play a ranked opponent until week 11 or week 12. That's not going to be the case for Auburn. I think the most fascinating part about this is how important is the quarterback situation for them? Because Byron Brown is a really good quarterback at times, but they would be 2-0 against Bama in his starts against him if he could just complete a deep ball, just like one. And so, but I think also the other part is that's a $30 million roster, and in this day and age, that's not crazy, I guess. And there's several $30 million rosters around the Power 4 teams and programs, but you guys have seen the roster. Maybe I'm totally off base because a lot of it is talent that came with him. But is that a $30 million roster that he brought?
I don't know. I will say this: Auburn fans are going to get to see competent offense for the first time in a couple of years.
Yeah.
By the way, watch
intensity too. They're going to have a different attitude there, and that's something they need after the Hugh Freeze experience was.
They're not listening to gospel music at practice. That was one of the players tweeted that, and it was like, jeez.
Watch Cody Stigler.
The Hillsong.
Between Golish and DJ Durkin, oh my God.
Cody Sigler on that D line, I was told, has been eating this spring. So that's a name to keep an eye on a transfer.
Cody Burns, former Auburn wide receiver quarterback, and he was here at Tennessee with Golish. He's the wide receivers coach there too.
There you go. I made a mistake, guys. I was looking at my old 14-team graphic. We left off Oklahoma, Texas. So we got a minute each for Texas, Texas A&M, and Oklahoma.
I'll take Texas. My defense is going to be great at Texas. I think we're going to get great DB play, especially, and Steve has been really good at organizing practices and really giving me runway to implement my system there for the Longhorns. So I think the people in Austin are going to be really excited with what we have coming on defense.
Corey, open your eyes really wide. Give me a crazy look. Yeah, there you go.
Tell somebody to do your job.
Do your job.
Do your job.
Do your.
By the way,
I need a whiteboard behind me that I can break.
Arch is doing well. He's recovering from off-season surgery, but he's
Cam Coleman's going to be a stud, and it's going to be a strong group for Texas, much to the chagrin of a lot of people around the SEC.
Agreed.
All right, who wants A&M or Oklahoma?
I'll take Oklahoma. Year 2 and John Mateer, a healthy John Mateer with that defense, because it's going to be good. If they spent any money at all and did any work in evaluation, Oklahoma is going to be very good. And also, Owen Heineke played 15 minutes of lacrosse, and the NCAA is trying to take a year of eligibility away from him for that in football. Chris Winkie came back at 30 years old and played quarterback. Owen Heineke
see your Mississippi judge. Your Mississippi judge.
Whoever the Oklahoma judge is hearing this needs to realize that, because that's egregious. That's worse than what they did to Trinidad. There's no reason why that should have counted against his football eligibility.
I also cannot wait for the Red River rivalry game and see what Parker Livingston does wearing the Oklahoma uniform.
I'll tell you what he's going to do. He's going to get shut down.
We got to end on that.
Last one, A&M. To me, guys, the biggest concern is new coordinators, new OC and new DC. Marcel Reed, I think, is going to be fine. By the way, I think I saw a million highlights of Isaiah Horton over there. I mean, they are acting like he is the next coming. What did Alabama let walk out the door to let this guy go over to College Station? Because they're acting like he's going to be all SEC wide receiver, but
that could mean two things. That could mean they don't have anything, or that could mean he's being unbelievably awesome. So
you have to wait $700,000 to be the third best receiver on that team a year ago, and then go get $1 million to go do it out there at A&M with all them boas swaying back and forth. Probably just worth it, I guess.
They got Mario Craver back. They lose Casey Concepcion, but Isaiah Horton will slide in and maybe be their workhorse guy, so we'll see. But new OC and new DC, always tough to lose both guys in an offseason. Generally, one of them takes a step back that next year. But, gents, that is going to do it. We hit on all 16 teams with questions coming out of spring ball. Thank you guys for making us your first listen. Remember to follow and subscribe to your favorite SEC team. We'll be covering your favorite teams every day throughout the offseason. Don't forget, I'll have you covered with the entire conference with Locked On SEC. And remember to become an everydayer. Head to lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer. Use our code MARCH. You'll get a free month of the Everydayer Club.